Welcome to the Kinected Podcast, where we shine a spotlight on the incredible members of our connected community. I'm Brent Fessler, your host, and each episode, we are diving into the stories and the expertise and the passions of the innovators, the entrepreneurs, and the change makers who make Kinected so special. Our goal is to inspire collaboration, to spark new connections, and to drive business opportunities within our community here at Kinected. Today, we are thrilled to introduce John Largent, who's doing amazing things at Largent Media. Let's get started. John, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Brent. This is a real pleasure.
Yeah,
I'm not used to being on this side of the microphone.
I wanted to give you a break from being on the other side of cameras and microphones and things. So, yeah,
it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, man. John, tell us about yourself and your journey to where you are today, and a little bit about what that is.
Yeah, I will give you the abridged version because it's too wacky to figure out on its own independently. But
as long as it's not boring, if it's boring,
think it's boring. It's just very odd, which that's okay. I grew up in a really small rural town in East Texas.
Yeah,
and moved out here, this part of the world, for college. I attended Texas State, and it was still Southwest Texas when I was there. So that gives you my age range. And got my degrees, both my bachelor's and master's degrees, in healthcare administration. So for about just under 30 years, I worked in the healthcare space as an administrator for small hospitals, medium-sized hospitals, and like Health South. And then locally, I worked for Christus. And, I got burned out. I got really burned out on it and decided to make a change, and had always had an affinity for storytelling.
Yeah.
And so I figured out a way to make that happen. And for the last, I guess, since 2007, I've been helping people tell their stories.
Almost 20 years.
That's nuts.
That's a long time.
It is.
I love that storytelling is so powerful. And, of course, healthcare administration is a natural path into being in the podcast world. That's everybody follows.
Yes, it was, absolutely. I was so creative in that healthcare role that when I started doing this, I had to figure out exactly what I was doing. But it was really it was kind of a natural path for me, even though it doesn't seem that way, because part of my role at the hospitals was I spent a lot of time going from room to room. And, some of the people that were spending time in the hospitals were astronauts for NASA. Yeah. Or they had worked with, on a production of a famous movie. Everybody, and I tell people this all the time, and it's not hyperbole, everybody has just amazing stories to tell. Even if they think it's mundane in their own life, for other people, it's fascinating.
And I think we're wired up to just respond and react to story. It's one of the most powerful things when you're in public speaking and you're trying to get a point across. As soon as you start telling a story, everybody just starts paying attention. We pay more attention to stories than we do data or facts.
That's right. And no matter how you learn, storytelling brings all of those mediums together and really are powerful, and they stay lodged in your brain for a long time. I was just having a conversation yesterday about a story that someone told me when I was in grade school, and I still remember it because it was so impactful. And it was with another grade school kid, but I still remember the story.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's the emotion involved in a story.
Yeah, I think so. And we all look for ourselves in other people's stories. And so when you find those opportunities to be relatable or to relate to someone else, it's always that's something that bonds you, and as I've moved into my professional career, and a lot of that was face to face. I'm very old school in a lot of ways, and I love technology and others, but the thing that I love that's genuinely old school is this face-to-face interaction, because you can read into things from a text or an email that were not intended, but you can read them a certain way. But if I can look at you and see what your demeanor is and what your, how you're feeling today, then it really gives me an understanding and allows me to relate to you more impactfully and hopefully more authentically.
That's fascinating. As you say that, it occurs to me, it's our desire for stories, probably also our source for misunderstanding and miscommunication, because in lack of information, we're going to write a story in there.
That's right. I always, again, I'm aging myself again, but if you go back and watch any episode of Three's Company from the 1970s, and you will see how people miscommunicate, and a comedy of errors happens after that, and it's just a great lesson that, when you don't get the whole story, you don't get the whole story.
Come on, knock on my door. John, what inspired you to join the Kinected community, and how's being a part of it impacted your work?
This has been an amazing community to be a part of. I've been here over a year now. And I feel like the nature of my job, I used to have an office down on the Riverwalk, and it was going great guns until COVID. And had a nice studio space, and my kids were working with me. It was great. And that changed everything. And so I really had to think about how to work smarter, and then how I can surround myself with people that are smarter than me. And so when COVID happened, my business shifted from about 90% in person to about 95% remote. So all the recordings that we do, basically, for the most part, are remote. And so I didn't need all the studio space that I previously had. And so coming here, taking a tour, and by the way, Natalie and Rodney and the people that introduced me to the space were just so open and kind, and that it really made me feel like this is where I wanted to be. And of course, joining the community and having all the amenities that I would have in my own office while being able to share that with other people is really exactly what I was looking for.
That's awesome. We're about 3.5 years into the Kinected journey here, and we've been trying to capture what the values of our community are. We've had company core values since we started, just about, but we wanted to capture really what the essence of the community. And what you just shared it really demonstrates one of those values that we've landed on to describe it, which is generous abundance. Mm-hmm. And it's the hallmark of I think the healthy community here. And you've moved that dimension of our community forward. You're so generous. You're always giving of your time, of your expertise, of advice, opinions. Just kidding. We have a lot of generous opinions sometimes, but that generous abundance, I think, is if I'm hearing you, is what drew you here. But it's also been, I at least want to give you feedback. You've moved that dimension of our community forward because of your generosity.
Thank you. And it really starts with the culture. And the culture here is one of those abundant sharing, and I've experienced that with multiple people in multiple ways, and have really tried to share that same with other people, whether it's bringing them in and recording back in the Creative Kind area, or just meeting someone for coffee at Tress Coffee now. I mean, this is just exactly. That was the plug for the coffee company. But yeah, it's just really been I look forward to coming in, and how many places can you say that when you don't love what you do, which I do, and then being surrounded by people that offer their expertise openly and freely, and ideas, and just being able to bounce ideas off of people of things that we're trying to do. And I really try to be on the forefront of what's going on in the space that I work in, and sharing those ideas and getting feedback and honest opinion is something that I look forward to here, because I'm happily receive it, and it's great.
That's fantastic. Well, that's what we want it to be, and differentiate Kinected from all the other places. Let's shift over your business, John. Tell us about your mission, the unique value of your business. What problem are you solving for your customers?
Yeah, so when I started, I was doing podcasts only, and they were audio, and because I thought at that time, that was probably the extent of my learning curve, was to learn how to edit audio. And I started like a lot of people, and maybe Nate started this way too, but it was, I started in my closet recording because that was the only place where I could get dead sounds and not a lot of echo and things like that. And so, and at that time I had a closet full of de-essers and all these different equipment, and it was a big stack. And now you can, buy a couple of units that are the size of an old, again, I'm just dating myself left and right, but old cassette tape recorder, and so that's really what started that whole. Started as a hobby, and I talked about food and sports, and it just kind of grew into an opportunity. But over the years, I started with friends. They were like, "Hey, what's this podcasting thing you're doing? I'd like to try to do that with my business," and depending on what they were doing. And I just tried to coach them the best I could, not knowing a whole lot, but I started getting involved in the industry, and then I got to where I was speaking at national conferences and things like that. And I really have learned so much. I was on the top end, now I'm on the bottom end, and there's a new generation of folks that are really leading the charge now, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can from them, because staying on top of the technology is really a challenge for me at times.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think we call it vintage in the audio world.
There you go. Vintage.
It's worth more when you call it vintage. But it also, it strikes me as you're sharing, there's an old proverb that says your gift will make room for you.
Yes.
And just noting your natural generosity and how that made room for you on the national stage, just because of how you generously shared of your talents, and not always trying to transact, just trying to jump in as a co-laborer in somebody's business.
Absolutely.
And stewarding their business. Do you have a success story or a project that you could share with us? And
yeah, there are a couple of, and I kind of deem success in different ways. I think one of the more high profile events that I did was I did a podcast series with Jay Leno in his garage in Burbank, and got to spend a week with him, and he was talking about everything.
So you're just interviewing his cars?
I was going to say, he talked about everything but his cars. This was right after he had been severely burned.
Oh, yeah.
And so we had people that had affected his life during that time. His plastic surgeon was there. His wife, who is now, unfortunately, dealing with Alzheimer's, and then friends of his and people that work in the garage. And so that was a fun, high profile, great to do kind of thing. And I really appreciated the opportunity. I got to bring one of my sons who didn't want to work with me anymore, but when he realized I was going to go hang out in that garage, he's a car guy, and he's like, "Oh, do you need an assistant?" And I'm like, "Okay, you can come be my assistant for that." And it turned out to be great.
Yeah. That's awesome. John, what's one thing that you wish people knew about your industry?
I think as it continues to evolve, that it's no longer segmented into this, podcasts, books, blogging. Mm-hmm. You need to think of your company as a media company. And you need to understand that all the noise that's out there, you've got to figure out ways to cut through the clutter, as I call it.
Yeah.
And so that creates an opportunity to look at your company as a branded media company. Mm-hmm. And that's a little esoteric in the explanation, but it's more of a holistic approach, because you really have to be focused on who your audience is, telling authentic stories. And, we live in a world now where if we want to talk to our favorite athlete or our favorite, we can reach them. Yeah. They may not always reach back, but sometimes they do. And so the curtain has been removed in a lot of ways. And so to have that direct access to your consumer, whether, you're in the education field or healthcare or fitness, you've got to learn the nuances of being able to do that. And so having the ability to create media that is going to get you there is something that's really underappreciated. I think more people are starting to realize it, but it's still it's still a pretty nuanced approach to it.
Yeah, we've had conversations in the past about how podcasting or just in general getting media out is no longer kind of a fringe channel, but a core channel for most businesses.
It is.
Like a website. Perhaps in the past, only some businesses had websites, but now every business has a website.
Yeah.
Do you think podcasting will ever get to that point where everybody has a podcast?
Well, I just looked at stats this morning, and, there have been almost 4.5 million podcasts are out there.
Okay.
Only about 400,000 of them are active as of today. And active means an episode in the last month. So the thing I would share with people is if you're going to do a podcast, hire someone like Nate. Hire someone that can create the opportunity for you to really focus on the conversation, because the back end can be really daunting. And people don't realize, and that's what there's a term called podfade. And it's like people get to their 4th episode, they don't have Joe Rogan numbers, and they quit.
Yeah.
And you're missing the message. First of all, be authentic, but then stay in it with the long term, but understand what you're getting into rather. And I would tell people that you have to treat it like a job, because to do it well, it requires a lot of forethought, a lot of planning, and a lot of execution. And so it's so rewarding, but it's also a lot of work. And I think that's also underappreciated, how much work goes into it.
For sure. And we're not trying to reach the world with this podcast. We're trying to reach the connected community, trying to reach other members or connectors. I think is who we are. We're connectors.
Nice.
With a K. Connectors who don't know how to spell correctly. But knowing that our audience is really connected and not trying to reach the world helps us really frame in our story more. When we're not trying to be perfect for the world, we're trying to be what effectiveness is for this podcast is, do we tell the story of our members for the rest of the members so that we can connect with each other, to do work together, to collaborate together. And that focus for this particular podcast, I know came from some conversations that you and I had in the past. So I'm grateful for those. Any connected members that you've collaborated with? I know you have.
Yeah, there have been several, and several that we're working on some things together. There are things that I know that I'm good at, and there are things that I know I'm not good at. And the great thing about being part of the community here is that there are a myriad of people that are really good at a lot of things that I'm not good at. So it creates a very collaborative environment. And even if you just have a question about an industry, I was talking to Jason Barnes just the other day about lighting, because I'm not intuitively, I'm not a videographer or a photographer, and just understanding how to set lights up and get the right, so my face doesn't look like, half of it's gone. And, I always, again, I love references for pop culture things. There was a music video from the Police called Every Breath You Take. And if you go back and watch it, they did all the things with the lights so that half the face was gone and it would flip. And I was like, you don't want that in a podcast. For a music video, great. For a podcast, no.
So, right.
So, right. But yeah, I can't wait for the next collaboration. I'm working with another member here, Jonathan Mom, who is a great coder, and he's going to walk me through some things to create an app, which, I have no clue on how to do that, but I'm going to learn. Learn. And they're going to willingly share their expertise, which again is what makes this community so special.
Yeah, more of that abundant generosity.
Absolutely.
Going on. Share a lesson that you've learned in your career that you think others in the community could benefit from.
I think a thing that I've learned relatively late in life, but I've learned it, is seek counsel, not advice. Advice is given freely by people who haven't lived it or experienced it. Counsel is given by people that have unique experiences that I would like to learn from. So that's a very subtle thing, but man, it's been so powerful for me in the last 10 years.
I love that. That's powerful. Seek counsel, not advice. John, if you could have any Kinected member as a mentor or a collaborator, who would you choose and why?
There's so many. I don't think you and I have scratched the surface. I would love to sit under your learning tree and really spend time. And that's another great thing about working here is there are constant offerings, classes. There's a certification class that I want to take now, but my schedule is just doesn't work, but I know it's there. And so there's so many that I don't have enough hours in the day, but that's the fruit of abundance that lives here at Kinected. And so, I will kiss up to you and say, man, I would love to spend more time with you and learn.
Dance lessons.
Yeah, exactly. A piano, anything. Yeah.
That we can do. We've got a music room right down the hall. It is a cool place for sure. A lot of opportunistic mentoring. One of the things I've always shared with young people, but should always also share with vintage people as well, is that the mentee has the bulk of the ownership and the responsibility in the relationship. And there is just an abundance of mentors sitting everywhere you reach and walk. All it takes is for the mentee to just activate that relationship and to see that person as a mentor, seek counsel, ask questions, reach out and spend time. I have never had somebody turn me down when I reached out and said, could you meet me for coffee and just share some of your wisdom, share some of your experience?
Yeah. One of the people I consider a mentor myself, he said the 3 most important letters are ASK. Right. Because people are willing, and the ones that are unselfish with their time. And I find that to be the case with most people, that you just need to ask.
Yeah.
Yep.
For sure. John, what's something surprising about you that the Kinected community might not know?
I have been a ring announcer for boxing, mixed martial arts, and professional wrestling for the last 20 years. I travel all over the country and they pay me to do it. So it's kind of a weird
Well, you know what the next question is going to be then? Can you turn on your ring announcer voice?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to... Yeah, that's about it.
That's it?
It's better when we've got an amplified voice. It's much more...
and do you have to have the microphone come down?
It has to drop down from the ceiling, and it's old school, and you hold... Yeah. And I've gotten to do that. I've been on ESPN a couple of times and Fox, and I get to wear my tuxedo, and I don't get to do that as much as I used to, but 10 years ago, I was doing that every weekend, and it was a lot of fun.
That's cool. Yeah. All right. You're one of those guys, like, I feel like almost any career or job you bring up, you're like, oh, yeah, I used to do that.
That's probably true. Everything from hauling hay, cutting grass.
Yeah. Ring announcing. Yes. John, if your business had a theme song, what would it be and why?
I think I gave it away to you the other day, and I haven't come off of that, but it's I'll Be There For You by the Rembrandts, which was the theme song for Friends.
Okay.
It tells a story. I'll be there for you when the rain starts to fall. I'll be there. We try to be that presence that is calming and constant.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. We'll have to change our Wi-Fi password to I'll Be There For You. It's a little bit longer than Better Together.
Yes.
And is there a hyphen? Is there
I don't know.
Then
I think that's the only song that group ever did that was...
one-hit wonder?
Yeah.
John, how can listeners in the Kinected community connect with you to learn more or explore potential collaborations?
Yeah, absolutely. Email is john@largentmedia.com. Can I give my phone number?
Absolutely.
210-201-5885. 888-888-4450. Or you can come. I'm here in room Suite 133 most days.
Yep, Creative Kind.
Yep. Creative Kind. And even if you just have a question, and, I'm happy to point you in the right direction. If I don't know the answer, I will freely admit that I don't know, and will help you find the answer.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any services or specials, opportunities?
Absolutely. Connected members get 25% across the board on any of our services. So we really want to encourage people to come in. And if you want to kick the tires around and set up a podcast studio Connected or in Creative Kind, we can do that. And you can give it a spin and see if you like doing it.
That's fantastic. Thanks, John. Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of the Kinected Podcast. A huge thank you to John Largent for sharing his incredible journey and insights with us. If you're inspired to connect with John or explore collaboration opportunities, you can reach him at their website or right here in Creative Kind. And to our connected community, keep building those connections and driving impact. We really are better together. And to learn more about Kinected, go to www.kinected.work. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast for more inspiring stories coming out every month. We'll catch you the next time.